Today is a very, very special day, not only for me, but I think really for all of you. And because this young man is one of my favorite people here. I mean, we're all favorites. But, I'm not going to go on and on, but I think that Justin is one of the most incredibly spiritual, most incredibly intelligent young men that I've ever had the pleasure to meet. And so without any further ado, Justin.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to do something a little different. Everybody stand up again. Okay. To make sure that everyone's alive, awake, alert, and enthusiastic, we're going to do a little bit of a cheer. Okay, so I'm going to do it first so everybody gets the gist of it, and then we're all going to do it together. Okay? Okay. Are you ready? Okay. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert. I'm alert, awake, alive. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Okay, can everyone get that? You keep up, you're good. There may be an insert in the back of your folders. There may be from last time, possibly. If not, just wing it. There it is. Do the fingers too. Okay. Fingers at the ready. Are you ready? All right. 1, 2, 3. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert. I'm alert, awake, alive. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Now let's do it one more time. A little bit more emphasis. Come on. We're awake. We're alert. We're enthusiastic. Oh, okay, ready? Ready? 1, 2, 3. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. I'm alive, awake, alert. I'm alert, awake, alive. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Great job. You may be seated. Okay. So I have to tell you, the other day I sat down at my desk thinking, what am I going to talk about in my highly anticipated return for Sunday's sermon? I rubbed my hands together, tapped into spirit, and asked Archangel Gabriel for assistance. I said out loud, give me a sign, and I can take it from there. Now, as soon as the words stopped flowing from my lips, I immediately noticed a cookbook. Now, this wasn't any old cookbook. This was a Rachael Ray cookbook. Yummo! Woo! Yes! Now, but what caught my eye was the title. 365, No Repeats. A year of deliciously different dinners. Now, my immediate reaction was, what am I going to make for dinner? But then I took a step back, and I thought about no repeats. No repeats. What's the connection? Keep it in the back of your mind, and we'll revisit it later. Let me first tell you about 2 stories that are connected to this theme. Now, back in January, I went through an experience that I would rather not go through again. It was about a week or 2 after the church Christmas party. I woke up on a faithful Saturday morning, full of joy that my sister from Vermont was coming to visit that day. I hadn't seen her since August, so it was going to be a great day, or so I thought. I also awoke in a slight pain. I shrugged it off, thinking, it's nothing. I got up, took a shower, noticed a small lump where the pain was. Uh-oh. Now, without being too graphic, I will tell you that it was in a very sensitive area. Okay. Okay. Now, this worried me to no end, partly because I remember all the cancer awareness ads on TV that says, check to make sure everything's okay, and if there's anything that doesn't belong, call your doctor. So, my immediate reaction was, oh my Jesus, this can't be good! So I told my parents about it, and the consensus was, it's not a big deal, probably a blood vessel burst, ingrown hair or something, but it would have been nice if that's all it was. But the pain got progressively worse as my sister readily approached. It got so bad that I could hardly even walk. I had to lie down with ice, and the pain level fluctuated between a 7 and a 10. Or higher than that too, but, it's on a scale from 1 to 10. So my sister arrived midday when the pain subdued a bit, so I could visit a while. But the pain continued, so we called up the doctor and she said, "Oh, well, you may want to go to the emergency room to get it checked out." I'm like, okay. I've never been to the emergency room under these certain circumstances, so I figured I better change my outfit to look kind of presentable. I mean, you have to look nice when you go to the emergency room, come on. So when we arrived, there was only a receptionist and a nurse in the room. I waited for about 10 minutes until the nurse called me over to where the receptionist was. This was a person who asked the questions and filled out paperwork. Her first question was, "Are you in pain?" I'm like, "Yes!" as I'm vigorously squeezing my stress trunk. "Yes, I'm in pain! Oh, look at me!" So I was in pain. So to keep a long story short, come to find out I had a twisted torsion, and it was pretty serious after all. I went into surgery and everything was fine. It was about 10 p.m. by the time I got home, and all I could think about was my live TV interview with Congressman Tom Allen scheduled the following morning. Realizing the situation, my teacher found a replacement host to fill in for me. I woke up the next day after having slept pretty darn good after those good medications they gave me, pumped up with drugs, with this burning desire to go into the studio to do the interview that I'd been literally planning for months. Now keep in mind that this was about 10 hours after we got home from the hospital, about 2 hours before the start of the interview. So that's exactly what I did. I told my parents I was going to do this come hell or high water, I'm going in there. I had this mentality like, why would I let something like emergency surgery stop me from my life's passion? I believed it was a test that I was about to pass. I gingerly got on my TV attire, then very carefully got into the car. When we got to the school, my parents wheeled me into the TA-TV studio. I'll never forget the look on everyone's faces when I arrived and got on set. It was priceless. For everything else, there's MasterCard, but it was great. I said to them, "Now there is no excuse. You have no excuse for not showing up. I just had emergency surgery last night and I'm here, so show up every time." So it was pretty good. But the interview went fantastic, but more importantly, it was what happened during the week I had off from school because I had to recoup, so I had to take a week off from school. But for the weeks and even months prior to the surgery, I was always asking for time to refocus my life to determine the right direction I needed to take. I was going in many a direction without pinpointing exactly what I wanted to achieve. I just needed time to figure it out. Well, be careful what you wish for, because ask and you shall receive. So I had a whole week in bed to figure it out what exactly that I wanted to achieve. Of course, it was around the worst time possible, but Spirit did give me the time I needed. The lesson I learned from this whole ordeal was that I needed to refocus my priorities in my life that mattered the most to me. Because before this, I had this ideology that I needed to be everything to everyone, so it took its toll. I wasn't putting the 110% into everything I was doing because I was spread too thin. So during the time Spirit gave me, I decided to heavily focus my energies in bettering my broadcast journalism track. My next story happened more recently. On Thursday, I decided to schedule an interview with a local newspaper to decide if I could get a summer internship or a summer job. It was called the Sun Chronicle, and it appeared like this was going to be a great opportunity for me. Or so I thought. The interview was scheduled for 1 p.m., so I arrived about 10 minutes earlier. The address on the email said 26 Common Street. So we went to 26 Common Street, and I looked everywhere, and there was no Sun Chronicle to be found. I called them up and they told me, "Oh, well, the address is 840 Main Street, not 26 Common Street." So they said they must have forgotten to take their old address off their email. So we go to 840 Main Street, but still no Chronicle, no Sun Chronicle. So for some reason we had the idea to look in the newspaper, and it said 840 Main Street, Westbrook, not Saco. Wow, must have been nice. Okay, so I called them up again and plainly say, "I was under the impression that your paper was right in Saco, so I could easily get there every day, and it wouldn't necessarily be feasible during the summer to get there." And so this lady goes, "Westbrook isn't that far from Saco, what's the big deal?" And I said, "Well, it is when you don't have your driver's license, and besides, I wanted something close by." Okay, so she continues and she went on, "Well, it's probably for the best anyway. I looked at your resume, and it appears like your interests lie in broadcast journalism, not newspaper, so you shouldn't be looking around here anyway. When you get your license, give us a call." So I'm like, ah! I was pretty frustrated. She was pretty nasty on the phone, but it happens. But at that moment, I felt all hope was lost. I exhausted my search. I guess it was going to be a pretty uneventful summer.